Welcome to Coach Fireside Chat, the podcast where we strip away the glamour and get straight to the heart of coaching. No scripts, no filters, just honest, raw conversations with coaches who are out there making a real impact. I'm Karl Sandland, your host and growth strategist for coaches. I work with coaches to help them build, scale, and create lasting impact in the industry. And in this podcast, I sit down with experienced coaches to deep dive into their journey, their struggles, their breakthroughs, and their unfiltered take on what it really means to be a coach. Whether you're an aspiring coach looking to grow your practice, or you're searching for the right coach to support your personal or professional transformation, this podcast is for you. Real talk about the coaching world from those who are doing the work and changing lives. So grab a seat by the fire and let's get into it.
Welcome back to Coach Fireside Chat, the raw, real talk podcast where we cut through the noise and get under the skin of what actually works in business. I'm your host, Karl Sandland, automation geek, funnel fixer, and the one who's here to talk about what delivers results, not just what sounds good. Today's guest is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to connecting people and creating opportunities. Tracey Currell is the Connections Queen, founder of the award-winning global business network Introbiz, author of Master Networking, and creator of the networking tool Fortune in the Follow-Up. Tracey is a serial entrepreneur, property investor, motivational speaker, mentor, and networking coach. And her passion for helping people build genuine, profitable relationships has literally transformed businesses around the world. Over the last decade, she's grown Introbiz to over 3,000 members and clients, hosted 60 plus high-end networking events a year, and created Wales's largest business expo, sharing stages with the likes of Lord Alan Sugar, Grant Cardone, Baroness Michelle Mone, and even working alongside Sir Richard Branson on his Necker Island and Virgin VIP cruise experiences. But it hasn't always been plain sailing. Tracey's journey includes lessons learned from getting networking wrong in the early days to now securing over 95K in business from doing it the right way. In this episode, we're going to be talking about why networking is still one of the most powerful tools for business growth, Tracey's biggest highlights from her entrepreneurial journey, the real impact that comes from connecting people in the right way, and what she's working on right now to take her mission global. So grab your notebook because this one is packed with actionable gold. Welcome, Tracey.
Thank you so much for inviting me on, Karl. Really appreciate it. Good to be here with you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Almost royalty, I feel, especially with being the Queen.
Well, do you know what? It's funny you should say that because a lot of people might think, oh, I'm doing it because I think I'm better than anyone else. But I actually put a post out on LinkedIn to say, I don't call myself the Connections Queen because I think I'm better than anyone else or think I'm higher up than anyone else. It's because the Queen serves her country and I serve my clients. And because I'm so passionate about connections, I feel that I'm always learning, I'm always developing, I'm learning more every single day about connection, emotional intelligence and everything. So that's the only reason I call myself the Connections Queen, because I love it so much and I really love to serve people and connect them.
You know, at the end of the day, it's still something you should wear as a bit of a medal anyway, because it's great. So,
conversation starter, put it that way.
It certainly is. Oh, I've got an idea about a conversation starter that I'll run by you later, actually, to do with a QR code printed on my shirt. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that in a minute. So before becoming the Connections Queen, you've clearly not always been the Connections Queen. There's a bit of a backstory, I guess, before you became so good at creating connections and networking. So what was it like before being the Connections Queen?
Oh my gosh, I was rubbish at it. So I'll take you back to 2007 when I first started networking. I was working for a business magazine, Enterprise magazine, and my boss said to me, I want you to go out networking. And I said, networking, what's all that about? Because I'd been at home working for years as a consultant while my children were growing up, because I always wanted to be there for the kids. So I did a lot of commission only work from the house. Basically, my boss said, well, you go to these networking events, you swap your business cards and you do business. So off I went to my first event and I was literally talking to people and introducing myself, and I would say, hi, I'm Tracy from Enterprise Magazine. I sell advertising space. Do you think you'd be interested in that? And guess what? Surprise, surprise. I got zero business because I was trying to give it the hard sell, going in for the kill. And month 3 of obviously not getting any business, I was about to give up on it until I actually think when you're in business or something's not working, you've got to ask for help. And I always believe in constructive criticism. So I went to a couple of my friends who I did manage to have a good relationship with when I started networking and said, listen, girls, am I doing something wrong? Because this networking isn't working for me. And they said, can we be honest with you? I said, give it to me. Go on. And they said, you're giving it the hard sell. It's not about that. It's about building relationships. And, the business will eventually follow once people get to know you, like you, and trust you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a cringe I was. But obviously it's brought me along a bit of an exciting journey. Month 4 to month 12, I went on to sell £95,000 worth of business just from networking, and realized how powerful it was. And then I decided to obviously set up my own network.
Networking has been my nemesis until recently. My old nemesis was sales, and I've managed to get past that.
That was
And
mine.
then it's networking. That's a whole different thing. Just going back to my quick idea, actually, I was thinking, because I'm an introvert, right? I'm not too bad at being on camera. I'm not too bad at doing virtual sort of networking because it's safe. I'm here. Being in a room and going up to people, I was thinking, on my jacket, I could get them a big barcode or a QR code printed, because if nothing else, that's going to be a conversation starter. And then maybe people are going to come over to me and say, "Oh, what's that all about?" And then they've started the conversation. That's what I was thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. As you say, it's a conversation starter, just like the connection queen, right?
Well, I'll give it a go. I might give it a
Ev-
go at that
And the
expo.
thing is, as well, Carl, when you're in networking events, you've got to be memorable. So that could be your signature thing that all of a sudden, oh yeah, Carl's the one with the QR code on his back, So and it would you'd probably get tagged with it for quite a while to come, but
It's
you
fine,
know,
man. I'm a techie. It's what I do, so
yeah,
that might
that's
work.
it. So it's what works for you. And I know for a lot of introverts, they're a bit overwhelmed walking into a room, and shy people as well, because introverts are not necessarily shy. It's just introverted people. They thrive on just being one on one. And when you're in a big group of people, it sucks away a lot of their energy. I know that for a fact. However, your zone of genius is what you know, okay? So think of it before you walk into that room, think, actually, I know my stuff. I know what it is that I've got, my zone of genius. And it's my duty to pass on that knowledge to other people to help them in their business. And once you flip it from it's your duty to, oh my God, I'm dreading walking into a room or I'm going to feel uncomfortable, it just changes the mindset a little bit and it will hopefully put you in a better space for when you do go out there.
It's a good point, especially about the serving others, helping others. Because again, as you said earlier, when the hard sell doesn't work at all with networking, does it? That's not what people want. So there to serve. Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. So it's much more. Network is much more than just exchanging business cards, right?
Oh my God, yes.
It's about building the connection and I guess because one of the key things that I think that I understand you do is you actually introduce people to other people, right? You're almost like a connections person. It's not necessarily that you are going to try and make a specific connection for your purpose. Quite often it's oh, I know Harold. Harold is the guy to speak to. Come and speak to Harold. Oh, Harold, come here
Absolutely.
and bring them in, right?
And you know what, as well, the other thing is if you are a good connector yourself, that goes a long way with people because we all want to be seen, we all want to be heard, we want everyone to give our time and attention to them, or to yourself. You want someone to give them your time and attention.
Mm.
So if you're listening to what they're saying, and this is where listening skills come in, all of a sudden they could say something and you'd be like, oh my God, that'll be really good for my mate Jerry. Or, oh my God, that'll be really good for Michelle, and all of a sudden it sparks ideas in your head. Can you imagine my head going off all the time of all these connections inside, all these little wires going on,
It's
thinking, when I
exhausting just
meet
thinking
people, I'm
about
like,
it.
oh my God, I know I can introduce them to and them to, and they'll be good for them, So it's my brain is a bit chaotic inside, but it's all good.
Well, it obviously works well for you.
And for other people.
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean that ripple effect. It's fully in play. So There's a little bit of a story as well, isn't there, about your journey to Necker Island, right? Would you mind sharing that? Because it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I ended up speaking on a stage at a conference in Dublin for very good friends of mine, Donna and Pat Slattery. They live out in Spain now, but they're from Dublin. And they were having a conference and they said, "Would you come and speak about networking?" And I said, "Of course, because it's what I love." And I could talk a hind off a donkey anyway, especially about networking and connection. And I was on stage for about an hour. And I actually said on stage to people, we got talking about, I was talking about entrepreneurship. And I said, "Oh, one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Sir Richard Branson." I said, "Amazing guy, wild," which I love because I get a bit wild sometimes, but very successful, knows his stuff. But he seems to be a really nice human, but he's also adventurous. And I like that too, because I like to have my adventures. So I said, one day, and I'd said to my parents this years and years ago. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember what year it was. I said, and on stage, I stood up and I said, "I don't know when and I don't know how, but one day I'm going to go to Necker Island. I'm going to meet Sir Richard Branson and I'm going to take clients for the experience because I always believe if there's something that I really want, I like to create an opportunity for other people. And I know there's always people wanting to meet him, to go and see him. Not everybody, obviously, not everybody wants the
Why
same.
not? Why not?
But some people, it's not their thing, and that's okay. So I got off the stage, and then somebody else went and spoke for another hour, and then that was just before lunch. I think I was up at about 11 till 12, and then they had another speaker 12 to 1, and then it was the break. And then during the lunch break, a gentleman came up to me, Brian Chittick. He's a lovely guy, a good friend of mine now, and he became a client. He came up to me and he said, "Oh, you said you wanted to meet Sir Richard and you wanted to go to Necker." He said, "One of my good friends, Hannah, has just come back from Necker. Would you like me to introduce you to her? She's just recently been." And I said, "Oh, amazing. Yeah, that'd be great." It was via Skype before the Zoom boom kicked off. And Hannah and I had a conversation. And I just wanted to really just find out what she learned from him, what it was like, what conversations did you have, what were the other people like, just to see what the experience was like, on there.
Mhm.
And what turned into that conversation was, "Oh my God, Tracy, I'd love to work with you in some way." And I said, "Okay, great." I said, Let's do something together." She was a little marketing guru and she was a digital nomad. She traveled the world quite a bit, but she's a super, super lovely girl. And I said, "Well, why don't you come over, speak at one of my events, and sell a little marketing course off the back of it?" So she said, "Okay, great." And obviously we did a revenue share on it. So she came over, she signed up some people, some of my clients to her course, but which was like the following month. And I said, "Listen, don't go and stay in a hotel because that'll eat into your profits." I said, "You can come and stay with me." So she said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Because I've always got a house full of people, or always having people around, and my kids' friends used to be around all the time. So I said, "Yeah, no, come to my home and stay with me." So she stayed with me for 2 days. We got along really well. She was only a young girl, but she was lovely. So she said, "Do you know what?" She said, "I'm going back to Necker this year. Do you want to come with me?" And I said, "Oh, I'd love to." And basically what happened was she introduced me to Premier Live, which was the guys that deal with the Necker Cup, which is the tennis tournament, and the Necker Cup experience, where a load of entrepreneurs go. They play tennis. Some of them go and play golf and we have a really good time and it's party, but obviously networking as well. She introduced me to the guys and we ended up taking, there was five of us, or five clients I took, that's right. And my ex-husband and myself. And we went along, we had an amazing time. And off the back of going there, we ended up getting invited on Sir Richard's birthday bash for his 70th birthday, which was on Scarlet Lady
Wow.
on his cruise liner. Because when I connect, I connect.
No half measures. It's like all in.
Yeah. And I met a great guy. He was a Neil Gupta, really lovely guy. And as I say, he's a friend of mine now. He lives out in Miami. And in fact, I bumped into him. It was so funny. I haven't seen a Neil for quite a while. I think it might have been since the cruise, actually. And I was in San Diego in March. And I'm crossing the road to go to the conference, right in the center of Gaslamp in San Diego downtown. And this guy's going, "Hello, Tracy, Tracy," and they're waving away. And I turned around, it was a Neil. He was going to the conference and I didn't know. I was
Wow.
in the middle of San Diego, stood ready to cross the road. He's waving away. And I was like, "Oh my God, a Neil, I didn't know you were coming." So yeah, so we ended up going on the cruise. It did actually get postponed. It should have happened in July 2020, but because of COVID, it got postponed to July 2022. I took 7 clients and my daughter. We had an amazing time. They all met him. Quite a few of the clients had photos with him. Some of them weren't comfortable, them asking or me asking for a photo, so they didn't, which was okay. But they had a lovely time and we had a really good experience and made some amazing connections while we were there. And I'm still in contact with some of those connections now. So, and you never know where that'll take you. On the cruise, it was really amazing. Obviously, it was Sir Richard's 72nd birthday on the cruise, and he had a private party, which I didn't get to go to. He had about 100 people of his close family, friends, and associates. But there was an evening on his private roof terrace. Some friends got together, like literally the day or 2 days later, and I got invited there as well. So that was really nice. And we did have dinner with him one evening with all his friends and family in the restaurant. And again, there was only about 100 people to that, and I went to that. So there was 2 amazing evenings of dinner. In fact, I think it was the same night. It was dinner. Yes, it was. And then we ended up going onto his roof terrace.
You can clearly talk your way into anything, which is
I
which is
tried.
amazing.
I tried. But you know what? I don't go and ask people. It's just when I connect to people and start a conversation and I get along with people, they just invite me along. So I go along for the ride, you know?
I had my first tiny bit of that this week, to be honest. I got invited to an event with a complimentary ticket to a Charlotte Tilbury event, which I thought, oh, well, it's only a small thing. It's not Necker Island, but it's a start, right? For an introvert who doesn't network,
Hey,
it's a start.
but can I just say, Sir Richard is an introvert as well, would you believe? And a lot of
Yeah,
people are
that's
quite
true.
surprised at that, but he's very quietly spoken. He likes time on his own, and although he can come across as quite wacky when he does all these wild things, like, but he's just very adventurous. He's a really quiet speaking man and just very humble. He's just a really nice human. And all the people around him are lovely people as well.
You're still working with him, his team, even now, right?
Well, I've got the opportunity to still work with Premier Live, which is not Richard's company, but obviously Premier Live do obviously work with Sir Richard because Sir Richard goes to the event. So I don't work
Mhm.
directly with Richard. It's actually Premier Live that I still have the opportunity to work with. And I haven't been back since, but I still do have that opportunity. And I've got that relationship with Trevor Short, who's the CEO of Premier Live for sure.
That's
And he's a
amazing.
great guy, him and his family, they're lovely.
So we looked at the start, we've looked at what the outcomes can be, which is amazing. If you don't mind, I want to just travel back to the middle bit again and look at networking. Networking as almost like a definition, because you have an acronym, don't you, for
I
the
do.
word networking, which when I heard it, I thought, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, networking basically, what I believe networking stands for is N is for new connections. Always talk to new people. Great to still gravitate to the people that you know, especially for people like yourself, Carl, that you are a bit introverted to make you feel more comfortable. But get out your comfort zone and speak to new people. So that's a really good thing. E is for enthusiasm. You have to be enthusiastic about your own business because if you're not enthusiastic, who else is going to buy from you or
Very
want to
true.
do business with you or joint venture with you, etc. T is one of the most important things is building up trust because obviously the more that you can build up trust, you then create a ripple effect because you've also got to think of, and I've got another acronym off trust is tomato, the tomato effect. So tomato is top of mind attracts top opportunities. And a very old friend of mine, Julia de Battista, gave me that acronym, and so it's not mine. I didn't come up with that one. I've come up with my own networking acronym, but tomato I didn't. Julia, that one's for you, my love. So if you're listening to this, I always like to obviously share who actually gave me that information. So yeah, Julia came up with that. And basically, when you're not in the room, what are people saying about you? Are you at the top of other people's minds? So for instance, if you were at a networking event and you were talking about networking and somebody says, oh, I need some networking training or I'd like to join a new networking club, I'd love for me to be the tomato in your mind and say, I know the perfect woman that can help with that. Do you see what I
Got you.
mean? And if the more
Yeah.
you can do that, the more recommendations and referrals that you'll get, because you imagine how many people are always looking for a plumber, builder, architect, electrician, when you see on Facebook, oh, can anybody recommend? So you want to be that tomato in their minds. The next one is W for warmth. You've got to be warm around other people, make them feel comfortable. And obviously, you know, some of the stories that I shared the other day on the webinar a week ago last Monday, actually, that we met. So that's
Mhm.
gone quick.
It has.
O is for opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere. And I always say that they're floating all around the universe. Not everybody sees them, not everybody identifies them, and not everybody takes action. But when you can see them and identify them and understand of joining the dots of what opportunities can happen, they're limitless. And it's amazing when that happens. R is for relationships. Obviously, you've got to build relationships with people first. So today, to give you an example, I had a 3.5 hour meeting with a gentleman who drove all the way from London, or Surrey actually, Cobham, to come and have a meeting with me in Cardiff. But for the first
Wow.
hour, we just got to know each other. We didn't talk about business. And that's how I do business actually, is I like to get to know them first. What makes them tick? What are they about? Where do they come from? You know, what motivates them? You know, what's their backstory? You know, like we're talking now. And then the business will come eventually anyway, you
Mm.
know? So you've got to build your relationships. So that's R for relationships. K is for knowledge. You've got to have your own knowledge of what it is that you do, what problems you solve, you know, how you can help people, you know, because business is about solving a problem or serving a need. So what is it that you serve? What is someone else's need that you can help with? And you've got to make sure your messaging and your pitch is right before you even go to a networking event. I is for being interested in others. You've got to be curious. You've got to ask lots of open-ended questions because that's how you get to know people and you start a conversation. And by being interested in others, you find out opportunities, how you can help them, or they could help you perhaps. Relationships should be a two-way thing. It's not all about you. It's not all about me. It's about how we can help them. And then once you can help someone, they could turn into a client, which is revenue for your company. And then N is to nurture. You've got to nurture your relationships. Like, you know, we've got started to meet each other last week now. We're nurturing our relationship where I'm showing up for your podcast. You're showing up for me because you want to promote me to your audience, which is fabulous. And it's about nurturing and staying in contact with people, especially if somebody needs something. And if you can help them, reach out to them, and that does nurture the relationship. It deepens the relationship. And then
Mm.
the last one, which is my favorite, is G is for giving. You know, you've got to give to one day receive. And I believe that if you give people your time and attention and you give them your help and support, that will again have that ripple effect because other people will talk about you. Be that tomato, you'll get lots of tomatoes all around the place then, because you'll get loads of people or hopefully talking good things about you.
It's so simple, but it's so sensible as well. And it's about the connection. It's got that running through it, hasn't it? The connection and what you can do for others, not
Yeah.
trying to get from others something for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And funny enough, we had a joke on the weekend with me and my family, and I said we were on about sewing. And my mum's, she used to sew and make all my clothes when I was a little girl. And she loved it. It was her favorite hobby. And she had a machine, a Frista Rossmann machine. I'll never forget it. And she was an awesome machinist and sewer. And I hated it with a passion. And I remember she said to me, and we were talking about it, I used to get the train home from school because I used to go into the centre of Cardiff to my school. I went to private school for a few years because my parents used to run pubs and they were moving from pub to pub in the area. They'd go from one pub for a year, then another one, and they didn't want to fragment my education
Mm.
and obviously, you know, create that instability, if you will. So they put me in a Cardiff private school so that I would be wherever we were in Cardiff. My mum and dad didn't want to move out of Cardiff, but wherever we were, I would be going there. So I used to get the train to school. And my mum used to go shopping about once a week and she'd get the train back and she usually get the same train as me. And one day she'd asked me to go and sew the hem of my skirt. And I said, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. She said, you make sure you do it tonight now because you don't want to be going to school with your hem down. I thought, oh my God, I hate that. So I went and got those safety pins and safety pin my school skirt sewing. My teacher at my O level, I won't name and shame her, but she bloody cheated for me because I said I don't know what to do. And then she had to quickly show me for the exam. Otherwise, I would have sat there for 2 whole hours. I was
God,
rubbish. Anything,
the shame of telling your mother as well.
honestly, anything to do with my hands, rubbish. But get me to speak publicly, train people, talk to people. So my skill set is verbal.
Oh, I feel sorry for your mother.
Yeah,
Having such a failure who can't sew.
I know.
Joking,
Oh,
joking.
I know, I know.
So you have quite an ambitious mission, don't you? So your mission to connect 1 million people.
Yeah,
How is it going? How's the mission going?
getting there slowly, but obviously, there's another. Obviously, I want to get other people involved in it, but one of the other things that I want to do is teach young people how to network and how to communicate because obviously
Love
that
that.
as a soft skill is so needed. It's not taught in schools,
No.
and it should be. But I do see that as an opportunity. So I want to create Youth Biz to teach young people how to network. And I am going to be doing a Youth Biz conference next year, next March in Cardiff at the University of South Wales. I haven't launched it yet, but it will be happening, and super excited for that.
And if somebody would like to get in touch with you, in fact, talk a little bit about the different offerings that you have.
So yeah, so you can join Introbiz for as little as either £97 a month on subscription for the year. It is a year's membership, or £1,000 up front. You get 20% off if you pay it all up front. Or if they join the affinity package, which is where they can still access all the events themselves, but I open up my black book of connections and do introductions to people that I think they'll be good for you, whether it's a potential client or potential referral partner. And what I mean by a referral partner is somebody else that will be that tomato for you, referring you business in of your products and services. Because we have a lot of our members within the community that are all referring business, not to everyone, but obviously there's certain little silos where people are getting along and they say, oh, let's work together or joint venture together or refer business together. And it's a great way for people to grow their network. And that's 197 a month or £2,000 up front. And then we do a £3,000 package or 297 a month to get more connections. And then I have a £5,000 brand sponsorship as well. But I've obviously got my networking course that I'm going to be selling very shortly. I'm going to be launching that very soon. I've sold it over the years, but I'm going to be doing a big launch with that in the next couple of months. So watch this space.
Exciting. I took your offer of having one of the taster sessions. It was actually only Friday, wasn't it? It was a
Yes.
Friday just gone.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely bowled over. And this is coming from, again, a strong introvert, used to hate the idea of networking. And oh my God, the connections, the conversations, how welcoming it was within, because it was a taste into the membership, wasn't it? They were your members, even though there were a couple of guests, they were your members. And wow, what an amazing, welcoming group of people. I was amazed. Well, that's why I'm talking to you about becoming a member.
Just happy to connect people and see them grow and see them collaborate and work together. That literally melts my heart when I see good things happening in the network. And, thousands of pounds, well, millions of pounds worth of business has been done in Introbiz over the years. It's been phenomenal.
And may long the success continue.
Thank you.
Listen, Tracey, it has been an absolute honor to have you on. Thank you so much. And I know it's been a bit of a lightning speed one. I'm just conscious of your time as well.
No problem.
Thank you so much for coming on. And for everybody else, I hope this episode has been a big eye opener, because if you are like me and you sort of avoided networking, you'll probably avoid sales first, right? You'll overcome that hurdle and then you'll start with the next hurdle, which is likely to be networking. Honestly, Tracey and her team, Introbiz, are definitely the people to help you overcome that hurdle.
I love spending time with people, and you've been a pleasure to spend time with as well, Karl. So thanks for inviting me on. Really appreciate it, and hope I've added value to your community too.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tracey.
No worries. You take care.
That's it for this episode of Coach Fireside Chat. If you found value in today's episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an insight-packed conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real talk on coaching. And don't stop there. Check out other fantastic episodes where I sit down with more incredible coaches who are out there making a real impact. Thanks for tuning in.